Let's kick things off with Ta, right? This is a drama. Well, basically written, produced, and directed by Todd Field. This is actually his third feature. The last film he did literally was back in 2006 called
Oh
Little
wow.
Children. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So,
no.
I
What?
mean, bro, you had a real balls to come and say, okay, I coming back into the game after 16 years, and here's my here's my long-awaited, return to the world of film, Dread. And yeah, I mean, he actually did it here with this movie, right? Um, it stars, well, actually, in my opinion, probably one of the greatest actresses working in the game right now, Cate Blanchett.
Hmm.
And just to kick things off, right? I'll just do a brief synopsis of this, right? So, what this show does, right? It treats us to, or at least gives us a character portrait of a composer slash conductor by the name of Lydia Tarr, right?
Right.
And the way how the show is set up, right, and how it's put together and whatnot,
And how it
um,
was marketed.
and how it's marketed as well
Yeah.
too. Yeah, you would swear that she was a real life person, but
Yeah.
no,
Exactly.
she's actually fictional.
Yeah. I listen. I jump into this thinking, boy, it has some famous, big famous female composers I never hear about or something like that. Cause it slipped my mind. All right, like go. All right, and then watching the movie, like, wait, it's only until they say a certain fact at the beginning. I'm like, okay, it's fake. And I'm like,
Right, right.
right,
I think I know where it is, right? So
right.
what it is, without spoiling anything, well, me, all right. So I assume it's this that you're referring to, right? But I thought it was pretty funny. They actually referenced the actual composer of this movie. I thought that was it was so
Well,
clever. But it's kind of funny at the same
well,
time.
no. Well, no. Okay, so two things. I'll tell you two facts. So the first fact is that she's a big student of Leonard Bernstein, right?
Right, right.
Real guy. And I was like, wait, Leonard Bernstein are famous. How I hear about this person? How the hell I hear about this person? And then but here was the giveaway. They mentioned that Tar is a EGOT winner, and that was the giveaway.
Oh yes, yes, yes,
Like
yes. You're
I
right.
do it,
Yes.
and I in my head, I've got what happens. I was looking up EGOT winners. I was thinking of the movie. I was looking up EGOT winners for a different reason,
Mm.
and I was like, man, I don't know who the EGOT winners are. I'd be aware of Tada
Yeah,
in
and
my
well, of
head.
course, the most recent one being Jennifer Hudson, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. So I was like, man, I don't know what the EGOT winners and who the EGOT winners are. It's only have a couple off the top of it. I can't tell you, but I know Whoopi and John Legend and whoever. So like, who's this lady at our person in my head? It's like, what? Because I have it thinking, what the person trans is somebody else, and they change the name. Who, my brain was going all over the place to figure out who the hell this is, and then it's like, oh shit, it's a fictional person. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And this,
But it's done so well though.
yeah, it's very well
And it's well,
structured.
all right. So, yeah, sorry to cut you there.
Yeah.
And they do it so well though, even for the beginning, because they actually have this guy, this writer by the name of Adam Gopnik, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who writes for the
Real.
New Yorker. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like one of the, well, actually one of few people to interview her in this movie. But yeah, the show literally opens with him interviewing him, right?
Exactly.
Interviewing her, right? And it's just done so well. Like, yes, while you're watching this, you will be like, wait, Lydia's a real person, right? But
Yeah.
no, it's not. But it's done so well, right? But yeah, really, what it is just a portrait of this individual. You see how she views music, right? Particularly, from the greats, right? She, there's numerous moments where she'll talk about how other composers, will do takes on, Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, right? But they'll add their own little tweaks that, in terms of like self-expression. And she kind of sees herself as doing the same thing, but she has her own views on that as well too, right? So
Yeah.
she is, and it's so funny that she even mentions that she avoids reviews, right? 'Cause yeah, she is a critic, even though she wouldn't
Yeah.
admit it. She is a critic. She is critical of other people's work. She's critical of her own work. She's critical of even people who are studying music as well too. There's actually a fantastic scene, right, involving a lecture that she does at this
Well,
university, right?
the thing is, I just what you'll get into that
We'll
because
get into that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And she kind of talks about just the idea of, well, this particular individual not liking a particular composer. Well, I'll say who the composer is, Bach, right?
yeah,
For certain reasons. and she's offended by it because they're like, no, it's Bach is one of the greatest. Like, you're supposed to like Bach, right? And that's the type of person that she is. She looks to the greats. She has them on pedestals and whatnot, right? But what the show also does well, especially with that reveal about Bach, sorry, is that they are flawed individuals. They do
Yeah.
some really nefarious, dark stuff, right?
And
And
this was a hint
Tar
that
is no different.
yeah, there's a hint at where the story was going. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And yeah, you while you are, amazed at, her knowledge of the arts and whatnot, right? And especially her skills in terms of doing conduction, right? There's some like shady stuff that's brought up to the surface, right? And it's true, some people that she work with, some people that she used to be associated with, and it affects her already strained relationship with her wife. And it just goes deep, and it just goes deep and dark, right? But what the show also, I'll just close off with this, right, is that it really kind of puts you in the world of Tar. You kind of see the world through her lens, sorry, right? Um, to the point that you're not really supposed to side with her, even with all the the revelations and all that kind of stuff that comes up later in the film, right? But you kind of get her mindset. You kind of get why she is the way she is. Why she functions the way she does, how she's kind of close-minded to other people and other beliefs, but she's open-minded to others. And it's just really that. It's just such a fascinating character portrait, but at the same time, it's towards a person that you're not really supposed to like, you're not really supposed to hate, but you kind of understand why she is the way she is, right? Even though, and I'll get to this in my review, there are certain things that are kind of left ambiguous. You kind of have to fill the blanks and whatnot, right? But I'll stop here. See, Ricardo, your honest thoughts on Tar, man.
Yeah, I didn't expect this to be. Yeah, so how to describe this boy? All I'll say at first, I mean, we talked. You want to get into spoilers or not? But
I'll say we could get into some minor
right,
spoilers, but I would say the
yeah.
beauty of this show is if you're going as blind as possible, but
When
we'll spoil
okay,
all minor stuff,
so that very early scene with her doing a lecture, I it was piecing together. I kind of did like one thing in the scene because I was thinking, wait, that a little too stereotypical a little bit, or at least a little bit of a straw man of what was going on. But then when the story started to envelop myself, I'm like, oh shit, I think I know, like, okay, I now see the purpose of that original scene. And yet, if you think about it, it's a kind of nice companion piece and evolution for the most part of one of my favorite movies ever, Whiplash. Um,
I was thinking that too, though. I was
yeah,
thinking that
exactly.
too, yeah.
Yeah, and it just built itself in this a really interesting direction and space. Again, okay, so when I was watching this, we had I remember I was had a massive internet outage for like a day or something like that. Whole day we had no internet, and so I couldn't check up whether or not Tar was a real person. So in my head, I was like, is Tar a real person? I was like, but it's only when a couple of facts. Like, okay, so they do the verisimilitude really well with Adam Gopnik himself. So I'm thinking, right, this is a real good interview, boy. Because that opening interview scene real good. It feels
Yes.
like a real person. She have a big event coming up. Something involved with, well, if you know what it is, and it comes back later with the number 5, which is great.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
But then it's excellent with when they do it, and I was like, all right, well, this is real hard though. And then it's like, this a real person or not? I don't know. But then when these stories started development and pick up, I was like, all right, shit, this happened. Right, that happened. Then this happened. And then the dominoes start to fall. And then I have 2 or 3 moments. It's like, wait, boy, this is some real. I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just mention it. Fall from grace moments. That's all I'll say.
Oh yes, literal.
One involving, all I'll say is 2
Wow.
things. One involving a family member, a long, not seen, estranged family member. I'm like, wow, that is a real humbling moment, though. That is one.
Yeah.
Then the second one is involving somebody involving the somebody who own a building. That's all I'll say. That is
Yes.
humbling.
I know what you're
You
talking
see them
about.
little small moments, Dread? Like, it's not the big things, it's the small things that get here. That is all I'll say. And that was brutal. That shit was fucking brutal as hell. And then the ending, that last shot is great because it's only because I know the franchise, I immediately pick up what it was.
I knew you knew it to know, but
Right.
well, sorry to cut you. Here's the thing with me, right? So, I was listening to the music, but I was not familiar with the brand that was being advertised there, right?
Right.
So I had to wait for credits to roll and whatnot, and then I saw it's like, oh, okay, now I see, right?
Listen, when I saw that, I was like, this is very fucking clever, though. Who wrote this script? Really clever. I was like, it
Hey,
gave a
well,
little slow
again,
clap.
it's thought feel, yeah.
Right. And I was like, all right, this guy slow clap for me when what it is the reference. Like, that's really clever, though. Like, that's really funny and clever when you think about it. Yeah, again, without spoilers, this is really good for me, mostly because Cate Blanchett is a treasure. Like, that
Yes,
she
yes.
had to do a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of talking. She had to hold up the whole thing, range of emotions. She was really good at this too. Like, she was really fantastic, and I didn't expect it. And I still with the movie. I'm totally glad I went into this blind because the way how the film is marketed catches you with the context of the film. That is why it works so well. Because given what we've been going through for the last, again, don't want to spoil it, given what we've been going through for the last 4 or 5 years involving very popular and powerful people, it makes perfect sense marketing a film like this because it's to catch the audience as well. And that is
Yeah,
why it works so well. It's so smart, and then it largely puts it in a perspective. Everything starts to devolve and make sense and where to do with it. And given the scenario, the context of the scenario is brilliant. And how she's really a product of her time, how she, little things, little factors like how she just can't adapt to the world, the little, how the old politics could destroy the new. We can get into that. And it really works really well. That is why it works so well. And I'll mention something, but I'll be more biased and I'll sell on the movie. That's all I'll say. So I won't mention that. But that is a big factor because right now, especially the last couple of years, I was not in the mood for this type of person. And this movie is a perfect illustration of that type of person being destroyed.
I
That's
know
all.
what you mean, yeah. I
Right,
forgive me in advance if I kind of sell it out, but but continue, yeah.
right. And because Blanchett she really embodies that type of person so well, though. So well. It's like, wow. That's why it works. She totally deserves Oscar and to win for this. Like, so far this year, I didn't see
Agreed,
nobody.
agreed.
Yeah,
Yes.
I see no performance. I was like, that didn't really pull me in, or no female performance that really pulled me in. This is the first literal, like, actual contender that pulled me in. That say, yeah, it's only one other performance, maybe. That kind of, maybe, but that still was a pop culture kind of thing, but I don't see them getting anything for it.
That
Uh,
that that would be who?
Angela Bassett.
Oh, right. What I mean, I would love to see her get nominated for Black Panther Wakanda
Right.
Fest.
That
Yeah.
is about it. And maybe Viola Davis, but nah, not even that still in thing. This, yeah, this is where it starts. It feeling like, okay, Oscar nomination start for this. That is why it feeling. I don't want to, like, as I say, mild spoilers. If you want to get into full spoilers, then fine. But so far, I really strongly recommend this movie. But it's a movie you have to go in blind to. Going completely blind. That is why it works. Because of how the film is marketed. And that is why it catches me. But I got, so far, when it started go, it had this one part involved with our building. When she went to our abandoned building. And then I was like, where the fuck this movie going, Jared? And then,
Dog, I was feeling the same way, but I'll
yeah,
get to that. Yeah.
and I was like, it catching me because it's like, okay, so this, because, there's a lot of, because when the story starts spiraling and start ramping up, it's like, oh, it's a lot of unreliable narration, and like it's a possibility that X person not real maybe, and that person might be a figment of imagination representing X other person, and so on and so forth. And I was like, but this real working though. I was like, all right, this is excellent, John. And it's on a build, and then she have a dream, and she have a thing. I was like, all right, no, it does. Not only it makes a great scenario and a good plot, but it's a fantastic character piece. And as I say, it really frames it internally from her perspective about X, Y, and Z. And when it comes back to full circle again, the number five, that is when it gets brilliant. That is when that last number five, and then the ending, the last shot, where they find out where she was, well, what she was making music for, is a stroke of genius in my opinion. Just like, oh, that's really clever, and it's a simple, like, clever little, like, full stop on the whole thing though.
Hmm.
Rated. This was kind of I don't know, no pun intended, kind of a masterpiece, and it was a really brilliant character piece though, and I can't give it like nothing lower than 9 though. This was so good though, and like it built up. really good, excellent character piece. Comes up, and then it just that crescendo at the ending is just it just come together so well for me. Yeah, I really loved it. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. It catch me. That's what I'll say. Because
Yeah.
of the marketing, very clever marketing. You're going as blind as you can. Much like with Whiplash. Whiplash was a film. I don't know what to expect with Whiplash. No idea. I saw one trailer, I remember at the time, and then that movie ended up becoming so memorable for me because of how it plays together, and mostly because of the brilliant direction of Chazelle, right? Uh, at the ending, like that ending is so good and but you don't know where it was going. You went in blind, and it just surprised you. And Tar was the same film. The Tar did a brilliant misdirect with that marketing. That is why it works. Yeah, I loved it. Really loved it. 9 out of 10. Mostly because of the main topic. Because that type of person need to get dragged a little bit nowadays. But we'll talk about that, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, this was definitely gonna make my top 10 of the year for this. Definitely. I
Right.
didn't expect to enjoy it as much. Cate Blanchett is really good at this. Like that's why it
She is.
works.
She is.
That's why it works so well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well. For me, right. I can't say at the moment that I will have it as top 10, but it is definitely one that I need to watch over, and for great for good reason too, right? Because I just know, because I was just surprised at just the complexity that we got in this movie, where there's just so much that's going on, right? You know. Stuff that isn't seen, stuff that is suggested and whatnot, that I feel like if I watch it over again, that's when things will start to become clearer, right? So for me, if I just have one gripe though, is I don't want to say over reliance, but I find that there were a few plot points that I felt would just remain ambiguous, right? Like we
Right.
just there, like, all
Well,
right,
that's why it work,
that,
eh?
that's saying that you need to show us everything that
No.
happened, right?
Yeah.
Or why
No.
Taj put in this position, but it's just
Exactly.
like, show me something, but they just keep
No.
kind of
No. But
hinting,
that
hinting, hinting. It's like that.
yeah. No. Exactly. That's why it work. That's why it work because it keep it. You have to make a decision from your perspective. Again, that is why the marketing catch you. Because now
Right.
it already paint your thinking about the character.
Hmm.
That is why it works. It have you thinking, way boy, you understand? And then so when the movie now drop the hammer, and well, the other shoe drop on this whole thing, then it started build up in terms of like the conceit of it now. That is why it works. Because it keeps everything up. It don't make you make the decisions. You have to put it from the perspective of everybody and believe them now. That is why it works. It doing the way you call it Rashomon thing now. A little bit,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. Rashomon.
Yeah,
You're correct.
exactly.
Hmm.
It catches you. That's all I'll say. But the thing is, it's Rashomon, but not a real trial. It's a well again if we'll kind of spoil it. Well, this is a slight spoiler. A kind of court of public opinion, right?
Uh huh. Hmm.
The court of public opinion has been the biggest court in nowadays thing. Nobody care about real world courts and proper jurisprudence. They care about court of public opinion, and that's why it works in that conceit. And yeah, I thought it was kind of brilliant in that sense.
Yes, correct, correct. Yeah. So again, this is my first viewing, right? So, me, I was just expecting just some sort of like reveal as to what was really going on.
Right,
But again, it's just
right,
kind of left for you to sort of figure it out, right? But I
yeah,
guess if I watch it over again, I will, I'll appreciate the ambiguity, sorry, behind this film, right? And like you, Ricardo, I went in as blind as possible. There were things where I was wondering, okay, what the hell going on? Like case in
yeah,
point,
man.
that whole building scene, I was just like, really,
Yeah,
what going on here? You know what I mean? Like
yes, yes,
I was really on edge. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And also the show really does that very well. It kind of puts you, you know what I mean? Like again, you're seeing the world through Lydia's eyes now, but at the same time,
right,
they do some certain things that kind of keep you uneasy, right? So case in point, there's hints, like there's how to say, boy, there's audio hints, there's
yes. That's
sonic
why,
hints
right, yes,
of
right. There's a
of
lot of great
right,
sound design in this. Yeah,
correct,
that
yes, yes, yes.
and it makes sense in the context of the story. Yeah,
Yeah, and like for me, I was watching. It's like, okay, is somebody stalking her?
hmm,
Is it all in her head? But
yeah,
then, as the show progresses, you realize, without spoiling too much, it may have to do with something in the past,
yep,
or not, right? It's kind of left out there, right?
yes,
Again, I just wish that the show could have just kind of answer certain things, but they just kind of hold back on really doing that, right? Um, But yeah, it's done very well though. It really puts it into that mental that headspace that
Yeah,
Lydia is in, right? Speaking of Lydia, boy, Cate Blanchett for the win.
yeah, she was
I
hard
call
on
this right now. I mean,
hard,
I don't know
real hard.
when you tell me what's gonna be next year,
Listen,
February or
what'll be
something. But
funny?
nah,
What'll be funny? Yeah,
she's my pick
what
right now. Boy.
what'll be funny is I'm not saying again. I'm not saying Kate Blanchett's life or have no any accusation at all. Or Kate Blanchett's life is parallel with the character or anything like that. But if she wins, that'll be really funny too. It's like in its own conceit. It's like, okay, wow, that's kind of clever in its own way. But yeah, I listen. If she win, I got a problem with that. To be fair, because she's very good in this.
No,
She
she
is very,
was, but yeah,
very
yeah,
good in this. Yes.
and like I said, she just has to do a lot of heavy lifting in this film, right?
Yes.
And like, all right, so just to show the example of the college scene, right? The lecture that she has, right?
Yeah.
That whole scene is pulled off in one long take, right?
More or less. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's long too. It's like 10 minutes.
it was
Yeah.
about 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And me with my film nerdy brain now asking
Yeah.
myself, all right, since she's the prominent person in this piece and she just talking, right? Did they have like teleprompters somewhere
That was
positioned
studying dread.
above
Yeah. That
above
was
the frame
what's
for her
it?
to know what to say?
Yep.
Because she just pulls this off
Yeah.
so seamless, Dread. It's
Yeah,
so
Dread.
real,
It
Dread.
really feel like
And it's
a
so
lecture.
yes, it
And you know
does,
what?
boy.
My
And
first thing,
there's like a particular moment, sorry to cut you, there's a particular moment where she addresses a student, right? And that's where the whole thing with back comes up, right?
right?
And I'm still there watching this and like, all right, there's a teleprompter somewhere, right? Like
You know,
you not you know what I mean? Like how you know all these lines of dialogue to
but
deliver when
there's a great,
homie now, only have like a few to give, so to speak, right?
but
How you
there's a
know how
great,
to navigate this stuff,
yeah, yeah,
Trent?
yeah, yeah.
It's
No,
weird.
there's a great body language beat with the students, which is a common thing.
I love, dude.
And
I love that.
yeah,
I thought it was played for laughs, but
no,
because
right,
of the first encounter that she has with the person, it's
right,
like okay, yeah. I get that.
right.
I fuck with that. That was great. That was
Yeah,
great.
and they do it good. They telegraph it from the beginning, and then they come back at the end of the scene with it, and why it works. And it's just such a simple, it again, it's foreshadowing the rest of the movie. A very very conceit, a really interesting and simple power dynamic concept. That's
Yes,
all.
and
Again,
speaking of that, though,
right?
the final line is it works, yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
I love how the scene stops at that particular line delivery way, and I would say without spoiling anything, it's a way that you could describe that person. You could describe Tar, like if Tar like offended you one day, or if you just don't
Right.
like how she looks at things. But that's just merely scratching the surface. But yeah, it's like a simple shortness. It's like yeah, me any day you are this, right? But yeah, it's not who she is, of course, right? But it's an easy way someone could look at her just given the way how she moves or whatnot, right?
Right.
But I just love how the scene just kind of ends at that particular point. That's great, right? And yeah, there's numerous long takes in this film as well too. Mostly dialogue scenes, and they're done very well. There's one shot in particular where the camera is literally behind Kate and another person, and they're just sitting down in a row with a bunch of chairs and whatnot, and the camera just lingers there, and I'm just there like I didn't even care that the camera does not even cut back to the faces.
Yeah.
It just works. Like Todd
Mm-hmm.
Field just really came through with some great shots in this man. But it does not take away from the film, of course, right? Not like style for the sake a style or whatnot, right? But
Yeah.
it works, right? But yeah, getting back to Kate Blanchett though, yes, she crushes it in this boy. She just commands the screen every time she's there. I love the complexity given to her character. Like I said before, you're not supposed to love her, but you're not supposed to hate her either. But you
Right.
kind of understand why she is the way she is. You know what I mean? And just seeing her downfall, though, it works, right?
Yeah.
And right down to the very end, which is so clever and so ironic and funny at the same time. Yeah, it worked for me. Even though again I had to wait for the credits to be like, oh, that's the property that's being referenced here.
Yep.
But it's just so funny, right? Without spoiling anything, it's just so
Yeah.
funny with all this talk about you wanting to be one of the greats, right? And this is what you're reduced to. Not
Right.
saying that composers who work in
Well, that's
fields
the
like
thing.
that,
It's not like
well, sorry to cut you. It's not like, oh well, you were just demoted to this. It's like no, this is
right.
just kind of something that composers who just want to make great music too. But if you just have your head in the clouds, you're thinking, nah, I want to be one of the greats. You could look and say, oh, I'm not gonna do that. That's beneath me. But it's like, it's the real world. You know what I mean? Like you could do that and still be great, But in her head,
Right.
I imagine it's just like, nah, but this is beneath me. Why am I
Right.
doing this? But whatever, I don't care. I'm a
Well,
great,
yeah, no,
composer,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Well, I thought it was kind of clever in its own conceit as well. Like again, and I do think it was a real ending. Like you're wondering how much of it was her or not. But I thought it made workable sense in the conceit of, well, that's a place where her name doesn't follow her, but also there's a kind of freedom to it as well. That even if all of this thing didn't happen, she'd have probably still want to go to a place like that. That's all I'll say. That's how it felt like to me. Like,
Right. Mhm.
it's one of those things you don't have you know, that stuff is not important or anything like that. And again, I don't know, the film kind of frames it as, again, this lower level of demotion, blah, 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 but not really. Like, I didn't really feel like that in the concept of it. But again, it's mostly because I am one of those lowly level people, to be honest. Like, in that sense, that given, especially with the property itself, it's like, yeah, I'm a massive fan of the property. So like, what are you trying to say about Wee Boy? Because look, see it with other things like that. Again, if we say what it is, it's like the same with like something like The Legend of Zelda or something like that. That's all I'll say.
Right. Right. Mhm.
I suppose somebody in her generation and her age, yes, that would be a big problem, maybe. So it makes some sense in her context,
Yeah.
but not for my generation so much. So
Well, no, no, no.
you could
I think
reframe it.
that's the point of that scene anyway. Yeah.
Right. So, but again, if we could talk about it, it'll be extra funny. Like if you find out, oh, well, the fallout of that's like, oh, well, people gonna boycott the franchise because of her or something like that. That's funny.
Nah,
Right.
I think so. I think the franchise is in good hands, right? As I always say, right?
Right. Right.
Also, to add to the realism of this way is just the amount of dialogue centered on, well, classical music, right? Whether it's composers, whether it's particular artists or instruments, or just people involved now. They get
Yeah.
so in depth into it. Where I know
Yeah.
for some people they might find it to be like, all right, but we don't know anything about classical music. This is boring and blah blah blah. But the show is smart enough to say, no, you don't have to know who these people are. You
Right.
don't need to know everything about
Yeah.
Leonard
Exactly.
Bernstein, or there's a moment where she even talk about Jerry Goldsmith ripping off a jazz artist for the
Right.
Planet of the Apes
Right.
score.
Which I
I
like.
was like, what shit? Like, I barely remember the score to that movie, to be honest. I now
Well,
want to go and recap it. But
no,
yeah,
no.
it's one of those
Yeah.
shows
It
that
is
they will
brilliant.
give you a lot of information. They won't beat you over the head with it, but
Right.
it's enough of it for you to be like, all right, I wanna listen to this. I wanna check out who this Mila guy is, and I
Right.
wanna hear what this Bach. I wanna hear about this symphony, right? But
Right.
if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. I guess you shouldn't even be watching the show. But if you're into music, if you just know or hear great music, and you know like the stuff being brought up here, pique your interest, then yeah, seek it out. Cause I do see myself seeking out some of these musical pieces myself, even though I don't need to read up
Right.
every single thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm marginally, like, again, in only a peripheral sense of the term, you're familiar with classical music, only because, like, yeah, you kind of look it up yourself just for research reasons or something like that. Like, that's the only, like,
Or you hear it in a, or you see it, or you hear it in a film. It's like, oh, that sounds cool, and you
exactly,
do your
exactly. But
research,
mostly,
right?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, mostly in my case, I was like, oh, I just look up this stuff in terms of my own, like, research of what I want to do for something, for some project. And like, oh, I want this inspiration. I'll look it up and then I'll listen to the person and then see what the context is, blah, 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 blah. That's it. You have a lot of free time on the internet. You could see this stuff making the conceit for what it is. That's it. Like, it's nothing more than that. And I thought that was just really clever and brilliant in its own right. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
last point.
Well, a couple things, before I get to Ethan,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So, speaking of music, though, I have to give mad props to, I know I always butcher his name, Hilda. Sorry, butcher her name. Sorry, Hilda Guan Dotir, right? I mean, she for me will always be, the person who made what well my pick for favorite score, which actually won the Academy Award actually for best original score, for Joker. Yes, she did the
Right,
score for
right.
that. That was my introduction to her. I love that score. It was just so dark and haunting. Here, she comes through as composer as well. And I love how she was referenced in the film. Um, but it's so funny too, like how what she does. You know what I mean? Because yes, you do hear her work throughout the show, but
Yeah.
it's rather sporadic actually. You will hear compositions. That's all I'll say, right? But it is technically her behind the scenes who's doing everything, right? To
Yeah.
the point I was wondering if it was because I don't know everything about classical music and whatnot. So I was wondering if it was her team who was playing the team for Lydia herself, right? So
Yeah.
when she's doing the compositions and whatnot, I'm wondering if that's Hilda's group or whatnot. I don't
Okay.
know. I'll have to look it up, right? And speaking of which, right? Before I forget, let me just pull it up here quickly. Yeah. But the great thing about this though is that this little cheap plug here. Uh, November the 29th, which hopefully y'all should hear this review before it comes out, or well, I do hope that even if you don't hear this, you still check it out anyway. Variety is actually having this online event called Music for Screens, right?
Okay. Okay.
And on
Right.
the first day, the first conversation is centered on Tar. So
Right. Right.
both,
Okay. Great.
well, I mean, Kate and Todd and Hilda are gonna be there, right? So I'm
Right.
gonna check that out. It's actually free. So Ricardo, just do a search,
Yeah.
you'll find
Yeah.
it. Free,
Yeah.
sign
I'll
up.
make an effort to
Yeah,
watch it. Yeah. Okay. No problem. Of
yeah.
course. Yeah.
Because I kind of want to hear like particularly how what was Hilda's input? Like what was like what moment she really worked on? Like I wanna just kind of hear how she was able to pull that off, and then have Kate kind of mimic her in the
Right.
acting, and then
Right.
Todd just kind of shoot around that. Like I just want to hear like just the synergy between the three of them, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, at the end of the day, it is really the three of them holding this film together, right? It's Kate, it's Todd, and it's Hilda, right? And that's not to say that the supporting cast don't do a great job as well. I saw Mark Strong. I
Yeah.
saw
Yeah. He was good at this. Yeah.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
he was real good
Yeah.
in this. Yeah, I see Nina Huss. She played Lydia's wife. I
Right.
saw Noemi Merlant, right? I know she was in a film called Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I've always been
Right.
meaning to
Right.
see that, right?
Yeah.
So she plays her assistant. You know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean?
She was in
So
this.
yeah,
Right.
there's some people who show up here or there, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, it is really Kate's film, true and true, boy, and yeah, she just knocks it out the park too. In closing, again, this is a show that I need to rewatch too because I know that there's some things that go on behind the scene. Oh, right. Just one last thing before I get to reading, right? I don't want to say that this is an unconventional show or narrative, but it is one of those shows where it does like it's more or less feels like just a series of sequences put together. And what I mean is, right,
Right.
like it will show you or tell you enough, and it will cut to the next scene. But
Right.
if you're expecting like some kind of answer to what happened before, you won't really get that. You might see an
No.
allusion to
Right.
that before. You might see some sort of surrealist imagery here or there, and that's kind of left for you to figure it out, right?
Right.
So it does not play out like a traditional
That,
narrative where
yeah. That,
everything
that. That
kind of
is.
has to be answered or
Yeah.
brought up near the end, right? It is still left for you to figure things out. But I would say each sequence, even if it's just a piece of dialogue or just a character waking up, slight spoiler, it gives you enough for you to kind of piece together or
Yeah.
just to
Exactly.
put
It
this
works.
sort of portrait together.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
It works as a stream of consciousness kind of thing. And
Yes, yes, you're right.
that makes sense given the subject thing because it's is a kind of given what the big inciting incident of what kick all of this off in. It is very traumatizing to think about. And then when they start to build back, you start to back piece what the hell going on. Like, all right, I could understand why this playing out, especially with a character on her level, the amount of pressure she going through, and so on and so forth. Like you could understand why it's framed like that. In my opinion, this is the right choice he had to make with something like that, to be honest. And I thought that was kind of brilliant. Like, yeah, okay, you might say it's a little not, I don't know, kind of not lazy, but like kind of quick with the editing in that sense. But to me, that makes sense from a
Mhm.
narrative perspective and character perspective. It's like,
Right,
in my
right.
opinion, it's a perfect choice.
Okay,
Yeah,
I understand, right? So yeah, for me, yeah, I enjoy this boy, but I have a feeling that if I watch it over again, I really will appreciate it a lot more. And who knows, it can make it to my top 10 too, right? So rating wise, I'm
yeah,
gonna give this a light 4.5 out of 5, man. This is definitely worth checking out. But I would say if you do plan on seeing it, try to go in as blind as you can.
yeah.
If the subject matter, or at least what we talk about here, is not your cup of tea, okay, yeah, believe me, this is not going to be for everyone. Like I say, sort of slightly unconventional narrative, what I mean, sort of
It
stream
is.
of consciousness
Yes.
style to things. And yeah, just the reliant on ambiguity when it comes to what's going on behind the scenes. I imagine it's not gonna be for everyone. And then also too, this is a slow burn. This is a slow burn, boy. But believe you me, if you have the patience, if you're willing to sit down and take it in, believe me, you will be rewarded, boy, with this one. You'll be surprised at how great this film is.
I will admit, if I didn't have access to the internet, I'd have probably not sit down and watch this out because of that. You're right.
Okay, you needed to know if Tao was a real person.
Exactly. Yeah. I would have stopped the movie and check it up, and it's like, no. Like, it was kind of nice for lack of a better term. I don't really believe in these things, but providence, sorry, for the most part. If I did that, I don't think I'd appreciate the movie as much as I did. I really felt I probably should have seen this in a theater properly. Like, instead of
I actually glad I watched this home. Not to say I would not have enjoyed the film if I saw it theatrically, but I don't know. It's just you don't have to worry too much. You're home, you can relax and whatnot. While when you're in theaters, when you're in cinema, you just keep asking yourself, okay, is this worth my money? Should I have stayed home or whatever? It's like that, right?
The movie needed to catch my attention and keep my attention. That is the most that is why it needed to do that, right?
And it managed to do that over 2 hours and 38 minutes. Believe me, it does. It does, right? But and just last thing though, what I would say the show just nails perfectly though is art. The art, I would say art, artistry, and the artist, right?
Yeah.
It kind of blends those three together. It's appreciation for the art itself, right? The people who contributed, to the people who were inspired by it, who find ways to find expression through that art. But then again, no, when you think about, the artists themselves now, it's like, all right, should I really take the art seriously? Should I really put this person on a high pedestal, knowing, how flawed this individual is, right? That's what the show nails perfectly, in my opinion, right? And it alludes to a lot to celebrities, I would say today, who have been put in that position.
Yep.
A particular individual I've talked about a few times on this show. That's all I'll say. But just that aspect alone just makes this show so fascinating and so well put together, man. So this is definitely one of the year's best films. Expect this to be on our best of list for sure. By all means, strongly recommend checking out Tap.